I Hate Politics is a podcast about a human activity we love to hate. I'm Sunil Dasgupta. The Mecca Business Learning Institute is possibly Montgomery County, Maryland's second officially approved public charter school project. It's going to be located on Goldenrod Road in Germantown. The building isn't ready, but the school is reporting strong interest from families. Applications have surged beyond the 250 students they had planned to start with. I talked with founders LaShondra Graham and Tracy Cooper on February 28th, earlier this year, about their model and the prospects for opening in time for the next school year. It is now several weeks since the interview, so consider that as you listen. But first, some background. Montgomery County has long resisted publicly funding charter or privately run schools. The school choice movement goes back to the free market economist Milton Friedman, but no less a scholar in my view, and a contemporary of Friedman, was Albert Hirschman, who wrote that allowing families to exit from certain public institutions weakens them. The most resourceful participants leave rather than invest to make things better. We see this in Washington, D.C., for example, where there is a strong charter school movement. Charter schools are able to select and hold the best students, the most resourceful families, while leaving the public system to serve the less resourceful students with disabilities and others. Just to be clear, a public charter school is publicly funded but maintains a degree of autonomy in how it is run. It is different from private schools, which do not generally receive base public funding, but sometimes do get special purpose grants. The school choice movement is not a fight between public and private schools, but rather over the use of tax dollars for privately run schools. Typically, charter schools are governed by the local school board. In Washington, D.C., each charter school is governed by its own school board, and there is a council of boards for wider coordination. Montgomery County has successfully resisted public charter schools for two reasons. First, its schools are considered to be good, certainly better than those in D.C., and so the demand has been muted. Second, the county's strong unions have opposed private use of public money, and residents have repeatedly ratified that position by electing local leaders, including those for the school board, backed by the union. The resistance has been slipping, however. The Board of Education approved the county's first charter school in the early 2010s. An existing private Montessori school in Wheaton sought to operate as a public charter school, but the effort failed and the school went back to being a private school after a year. The Mecca Business Learning Institute was initially rejected by the Montgomery County Board of Education, but appealed to the Maryland State Department of Education, who ruled that Montgomery County School Board had no reason to deny. And now, for the rest of the story with Mecca Business Learning Institute founders LaShondra Graham and Tracy Cooper. Stay with us.
I Hate Politics is brought to you by UMBC's Political Science Program, where you'll learn to shape public policy, impact communities, and function at the center of modern society. Learn more at shadygrove.umbc.edu.
I Hate Politics is a podcast about our neighborhoods, workplaces, schools and streets, and our local governments as they function in diverse and democratic societies. This means our politics are messy, dirty, sometimes corrupt, with often self-serving politicians. But no matter how much we may hate politics, we are never exempt from it, even when we refuse to participate. In fact, the purpose of politics is to keep society functioning, precisely when we don't agree with each other, like now. Music for this episode comes from CatScan, an art pop rock band from Washington, D.C. Paul Chaperis on bass and vocals, Kevin Kingsley on guitars and saxophone, and Mason Shelby on synths and percussion. Their latest album, reflecting the time and this cultural moment, is called Everything is Normal. To feel better, go see them live. You can find out where they are playing on their Facebook and Instagram pages. If you have difficulty finding them, we share their events on I Hate Politics socials. LaShondra Graham, Tracy Cooper, welcome to I Hate Politics.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
You are the second charter school to be allowed to function in Montgomery County, Maryland. You are going to begin this fall. I saw that you just broke ground on your new building. What is the status right now?
We have completed the demo of in the interior of the building that's at Goldenrod Lane. We are working steadfastly to make sure that construction and renovation maintains the timeline that we need for opening in the fall. We're trying to partner with Montgomery County, the Department of Planning, the permitting services to get everything that we need timely to make sure that everything can remain on focus for our fall.
How big is the building?
It's around 18 or 19,000 square feet right now. And then we're adding, I think we'll go up to like just under 30,000 on the first floor.
How much of the building would be completed by this fall?
Plan A is the full building. Plan B is partial building, where potentially we would not be able to get into the full space. So the interior part, the existing building may be available. And so we would be able to occupy part of the building, but potentially the new space may not be available.
Fingers crossed, to be honest with you, because 19,000 square feet in 5 months is a tall order for construction, especially
when
now.
You have accomplished professionals that do this every day, and when you have people that have been sort of dedicated to making sure that we cross the finish line, we are believing that all hands are going to show up and be on deck. So we have a commitment from White & Turner, who is a national builder in this space. They have done several schools in Montgomery County, the District of Columbia, Prince George's County. And so we are going to be leaning very heavily on them.
You are not planning plan C, plan D, where you think if that building is not done, then do we have alternative spaces?
No, not alternative spaces. All of our contingency plans are predicated on some element of Goldenrod Lane. We are working now is on contingency plans if that building is not available. But we have not fully fleshed that out. So I'm not as comfortable sharing what sort of a doomsday view of it would look like if the building doesn't get done at all. So we're trying not to sort of go there.
Permitting was an issue. Permitting from whom? Does that mean WSSC and
Yes.
PEPCO?
PEPCO.
You said in your filing with the Board of Education that the facility cost is $18 million. Can I ask where this money is coming from?
We have financed the project, right? The same way anybody else would finance a commercial build out. How does the school then operate and pay the bill? We get a per pupil revenue that is sent to us the same way it would be allocated to the traditional schools.
How much per pupil are you going to get?
I don't know if the 525 number has been released. I have to double check. But right now, Montgomery County, of course, the highest paid district in county in Maryland, I think their per pupil is in the range of $18,000 to $19,000 a student.
What would be the facility cost then?
Give or take around $1 million.
What would be your aggregate revenue from the school board?
Let's just say $19,000 times 250 students is what we would get for the year. And then you would back out your faculty and staff costs.
So you have $4.75 million, almost $5 million from the county, $1 million of which will go to your facility, and the rest will go to operational needs, correct? And you are expecting 250 students?
Yes, at a minimum. We're already being asked to let more kids in to create a second location. But yes, our plan is for 250 students in the first year.
How many applications do you have?
Oh, we had over 500.
Do you have a sense of where the students are coming from?
Everywhere.
Roughly 60%, 70% are in the Gaithersburg, Germantown sector. And then the remainder are coming from other areas in the county. But we did pull a significant number of the children from the surrounding area.
And do you have a sense of what sort of racial ethnic breakdown is of possible students?
We haven't looked into it to that degree as of yet. No.
Would we be eligible for free and reduced meals?
No, not as of yet.
The projected enrollment numbers you filed has approximately 15% as special education, almost 20% as needing. Do you think you are going to meet those numbers?
Well, that was based on what the district was projecting at the time of our application, where their levels were. And so we wanted to make sure that from a coverage perspective for, faculty and staff planning, that we had a basis for those plans.
What is the transportation plan if 40% of the students are from away, Germantown, Gaithersburg, and even within Germantown, Gaithersburg, it's not a small place.
We're planning for yellow bus services the same way that the district provisions yellow bus service. We're going to do it based on coordinated stops. We will not be able to run enough buses to do door-to-door, neighborhood-to-neighborhood pickups. And then for the students that do not necessarily qualify or the coordinated stops don't support them, we're going to participate in with a program called Carpool to School, which is an app that the parents can join and find people that potentially live in their neighborhood or within proximity to them. And they can meet and talk and connect and perhaps share carpooling into the school.
So who will be eligible for bus and who will have to carpool?
Technically, everyone's eligible for the bus. It's just whether it's convenient for you. Because if we have a bus stop and the bus stop is a distance from where you live, it may be easier for you just to plan to carpool versus trying to get your child to the bus stop.
Is then the transportation standard different for Mecca Business Learning Institute than it is for the rest of MCPS?
Yes. It is different because we're a charter school. We're not in a neighborhood. We have the flexibility to offer transportation or not. The same way other MCPS choice programs can offer transportation or not. However, we are committed to offering transportation.
What does a typical day look like?
A typical day looks like students arriving around between 7:30 and about 7:50 to receive their breakfast to begin the school day. We do have an extended day program. And so students would come, have their breakfast, and then start with our Foundations Advisory course. Their Foundations Advisory course offers students the opportunity to have executive functioning skill training, which focuses on prioritizing tasks, time management, learning how to utilize their resources effectively, social emotional learning opportunities, stress management. Following their initial advisory foundations class, they would move into their first period. And then that would be one of the core subjects would include math, English, social studies, or science. Students also have an MCore course, which is their business focus course, which specializes in financial literacy, economics, entrepreneurship, and business technology. From there, students would also have additional courses such as their electives, which we call encore courses, physical education, health and wellness, art, music, and world languages. From there, students would either have their lunch period, which is a little bit extended, a little bit longer to match our class periods. Within the day, we have 2 mindfulness breaks that allow students to decompress and release some of that tension.
How many periods in a day?
7 to 8. We have an extended day, so that allows us the opportunity to support students a little bit differently because of that extended day opportunity.
How long does it extend to?
From 8 to 4.
If you count them off, English every day, I would assume math every day.
Yes.
Science every day. Social science every day.
Yes.
Foreign language.
Business every day. Yes. And then world languages every day. We will also offer traditional clubs and opportunities for students, such as Student Government Association. We also have newspaper, yearbook, things of that nature to create a well-rounded experience for students.
Well, so I think most schools do that. How do you say, send your child here because we are different from all the rest? What is that difference?
First and foremost, we are a business-focused career academy. Typically, you don't see career academies in the middle grades level. You will see them in high school as far as career technology education. And so what makes our program unique is we took that design model and brought it down to the middle school level so that students can understand how their current courses are connected to their end goal and career options. Oftentimes, students become disenfranchised and disconnected in middle school. They don't see the purpose in the learning. And even though they may say they get it, sometimes they're disconnected from it. So our goal was to create opportunities where students can begin to explore those pathways a little bit earlier.
So you're both focused on generalist education and a business focused career academy. Both of those things are true.
Yes,
Correct.
both of those things are true. Absolutely. And holistic student development. Yes.
Business focus career academy is a specialization. When you push specialization, people self-select into that. But those that cannot self-select, do you foresee those kinds of problems?
We recognize that every student may not connect to.
Because we are a program of choice, people choose this program either for a desire for their child or their child has expressed a desire. So it is a little bit different than we're not force feeding it on someone. It is an opportunity that people can choose for themselves. If it doesn't work out, it's okay.
Self-selection also means that your student population may skew one way or the other and not be diverse. How are you going to ensure that?
I guess what are you talking about in terms of diverse? So because we are open to the public, like we are a public school, and so there are no requirements demographically. Like you don't have to have a particular GPA, you don't have to live in a particular area in the county. As long as you live in Montgomery County, you can attend the MBLI. So from a diversity perspective, you don't get more diverse than that.
The actual population in the school may be different. It may be, just to take an example, significantly more Asian, for instance, rather than Hispanic. Is that a concern that you have?
Our goal is not to ensure diversity in the way that Montgomery County may look at it. We recognize that diversity in this space, because we are a charter, because students and families choose to be here, we accept whomever chooses to work with us.
In terms of staffing, I see that you are saying that you will have a teacher to student ratio of 20-1. In the first year and first, I think, couple of years at least, you have 2 math FTE. How would they support 250 students the first year and then 250 plus 90 the second year?
In the second year, we would add a teacher. So it wouldn't still be those same 2 teachers supporting 6, 7, 8.
If you had 2 math teachers,
Yes.
and they have to hit 250 students in a day, how is that possible?
The teachers would be separated by grade level. And as you know, one teacher can teach. I've taught as a science teacher 200 and something students on an AB day schedule.
You're also promising 20-1 student to teacher ratios.
You know, you're going to have a class that, well, some 20 are in the math, another set will be in reading, another set will be in language, the business, right? So because of that, that creates that pathway that they're able to see the grade level amount of students and keeping our ratio low.
Just based on the math and us having 8 periods, they have a dedicated lunch period and then another period that is in the day that can be used for planning, that could be used for other building support. It's Monday through Thursday. And then Friday is sort of a reprieve for both the students and the faculty and staff with our half-day Fridays.
Do you have staff lined up?
We have been recruiting since the last 2 years. We've been recruiting. People have been sending their resumes in, doing an intent to apply with us. We are now working with MCPS around getting our school sort of built out in the system. There are a number of pieces that MCPS has to complete so that we can start the formalized processes. But as soon as those things are completed, we have a suite of people that are ready to apply for all of the positions in our building.
The teachers that will teach at Mecca Business Learning Institute will be part of the MCPS retirement plan, MCPS rules? Are they the same rules? I don't know. Could you clarify that?
All staff in charter schools in Maryland are staff of the district where they are authorized. And Maryland is the sponsor for the retirement program. And so the goal of doing that is to ensure that they are able to effectively participate in the retirement programming and there's no loss of service or loss of benefit. So they are employees of the district. They're just assigned to us or hired by us, but they are MCPS employees so that they can retain the benefit of being a school district employee.
The collective bargaining agreement that covers MCPS staff will cover your staff as well?
We are working now to get sort of addendum agreements, MOUs in place with each of the unions and MCPS and us, because we are considered an alternative program. And so some of what we are doing is not currently replicated in their alternative addendum.
8 to 4 is outside the collective bargaining agreement as it exists.
They have a school that starts earlier in the summer.
But those teachers have the same workload as every other teacher. They don't have
But how
extended
can they if they
workload
work all year?
because they get time off on a rolling basis.
But either way, it's different from the way that the current system is provisioned. So they have
It is different, but the total number of hours worked, the workload hours, I don't think that's changeable outside of the collective bargaining agreement. And I think that's a big hurdle.
You're right. And this is part of the work that we're doing with the union in order to address that. And don't forget, compensation is a thing. So they're going to be compensated for their time. It's not like we're expecting them to work this time and then they won't be compensated.
But the compensation is also determined by the collective bargaining agreement.
And ergo, we said we are in discussion with them in order to address the compensation.
We have a proposal around, is it that we are providing a stipend to cover the extra time in the day, or are we going to be able to be set up in MCPS with an expanded base pay? Our thought was expand the base pay to make sure that it is supported. If that is not something that can be agreeable, because there are a bunch of factors that sort of impact the ability to sort of bring that in, because we're outside the budget season. And a lot of this, we had wished that MCPS had these conversations with the appropriate people before we got here. But here we are. If expanded base pay is not something that we can implement at this time period, then we would offer a stipend. And then keep continuing our conversations for later planning.
Do you have to work through MCPS Human Resources to be able to conclude these agreements?
So yes, there's a labor office, MCPS, that we are working with, and they are involved with us in the conversations with the unions.
Collective bargaining agreements take sometimes 10 months, 12 months to finalize. Are you hopeful that you're going to be able to conclude something before this fall?
Yes, because we're just doing an addendum to what is already in place. And then as they go into the negotiations over the new agreements, we should then be assimilated into the discussions on the new agreements.
When do you expect that you'll start to hire?
As soon as we can get through these daggone pieces. The main thing is the conversations with the unions and getting everybody in front of each other to talk about it. The labor union person at MCPS has only been there maybe a month or so. So we had to have a whole new conversation with him, get him caught up to speed, all the things. And so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we should be able to have all of the union meetings concluded and then be able to, have everyone start to look pen to paper.
Does MCPS require you to hire one of their principals or can you hire outside?
We can hire outside. We're a charter school, so we can hire all the people that we want.
But they will ultimately.
But they have to process them.
Yes.
They have to process them. They are MCPS employees, but with the purview around the selection of that particular candidate is ours.
Would they be able to move between Mecca Business Learning Institute and some other traditional public school, would that be allowed for them?
Yeah, they are MCPS employees. So every spring, I guess it is, when they advertise the new positions, if they wanted to transfer from MBLI to another school, they would go through the application and interview process to go teach at another school. If they're hired, then they would transfer. So we are still a public school.
The 19,000 per pupil revenue that you're supposed to receive, when do they release that? Do they release it at the start of the school year? Do you have to prove your attendance on October 20th and then they do it? What is the sequence?
It's a quarterly distribution. So it would be July, October, January, April. So your July and October distributions are typically based on your projected enrollment, because the enrollment is not finalized until 9/30. And so your first two payments are based on your projected enrollment. And then your spring payment is typically when it is reconciled against your actualized enrollment.
Are you concerned that you need bridge financing between when MCPS releases the money and what money you will need to invest to, the startup of a school is no small thing.
Well, we are fortunate that we have a grant from it started with the Maryland State Department of Education under the charter school program. So we do have a charter school startup grant.
But that's only like $350,000, right?
No, that's not correct.
How much is the Maryland grant?
The grant was $900,000. And then we have an additional $250,000 that we were awarded from the Maryland Alliance for Public Charter Schools. And they wrote into their grant application additional funding up to $250,000 for grantees to receive from the new grant that was then given to the Maryland Alliance. So between the $900,000 that we originally had and then the $250,000, it's a little over $1 million that we would receive and can use towards startup.
And that's only 1 year, right? But not the second
No,
year.
it's a 5-year grant. So charter school program grants are up to 5 years.
So is $1 million every year, or is it total?
It's one award that's 1 point something million dollars, but it's spread out across the 5 years depending on how you need to use the money. And so we just now got a new award in October of last year. So our continuation grant, the $250,000, was added to us in fall of last year, which now is available to us for implementation in terms of us now. So we will use some of that money to support procuring equipment, to procuring our inventory for the school, startup funds. We also have banking partners, M&T Bank and Eagle Bank, where we have a line of credit that we'll utilize to support our operations. So we have now, is it something that is like, oh, we have $5 million just sitting in the bank that we can then just go do all the things? Absolutely not. But we are mindful in our planning for, our startup. We are cost conscious around where we're getting the things from. We're also, Tracy knows, we talk about this all the time about, if we don't have it, what does it look like? So if on day one we haven't been able to get everything that we need, what is our backup plan? But we do have resources in terms of the per pupil to cover all of our expenses. It is just, does it look like we're going to be able to do it in advance of the school year? Is it going to then, run into maybe the first couple of months of the school year after the initial per pupil payment comes in? But we're doing our best to try to plan effectively. We're also looking at having facility and financing through for furniture, getting some of those things maybe financed. Then we pay it off when we get our, the per pupil revenue funds come in. So we're doing what we can to make sure that we're effectively covering the operational needs of the school, and we're ready for the opening.
So you're paying for the facility, you're going to pay for the line of credit. Are you concerned about the interest burden?
I mean, it's always a concern when you're a nonprofit. But the reality is that is where this is the world that we live in, where it costs to do this work. Do I spend every waking hour pursuing grants and, foundation donations and all those things? Absolutely. Did Tracy just the other day send me yet another grant for us to pursue for $100,000? Yes. So I think it is just making sure that we are vigilant around what is coming in, that we are conscious about our fundraising needs, and we keep those things at the forefront of our plans so that we're not caught off guard. I think for us, the reality is that because I come from this background, having worked in Prince George's County in the budget office, Tracy having been a part of operational program operations, we know what it takes to make it make sense. And so I think it's just us being hyper vigilant. We can't control having to pay interest on it. We would be a new entity. So we know that until we get to sustained operations, we're going to have to take a little bit of a hit.
The charter schools in DC and Prince George's have received a significant amount of support from big foundations like the Walton Fund. Are you pursuing those? Do you have any of those commitments already?
I mean, we're pursuing a variety of grants. So the issue, one of the things you have to also keep in mind too, is contextually. In the district and other places, charter schools are supported differently than they are in Maryland and other states. Maryland is sort of, while they have a charter school law that permits charter schools, it waxes and wanes in terms of its effectualized support for charter schools, which then makes how people support charter schools in Maryland a little bit different. So, for example, you have sort of our largest base in Baltimore in terms of the Maryland public charter school community. The largest that we have in Maryland is in Baltimore. So a lot of these foundations that are present in Maryland target Baltimore because Baltimore has a strong base for the charter school than other areas in Maryland. But are we pursuing every opportunity that we can? Yes. But we have to be eligible for those opportunities. And some of those foundations are very specific around what areas they will lend to or give support to. So, but yes, the Walton Foundation, so all of those are on our list we have been pursuing. And so it's just a matter of, will they, see a need to support us in Montgomery County and expand their commitment to, educational pursuits in other areas. But we are actively pursuing everyone that claims they give money to education. We are trying.
Now, Baltimore has a very strong charter school community in part because the public schools have not been able to meet the needs of students and families. Conversely, Montgomery County, over many decades, has not had charter schools because their claim was that they did meet the needs of the community. How do you see meeting the needs of the community different from what Montgomery County Public Schools does?
So I don't think it is. I think it is a matter of offering choice. So Montgomery County has a school choice program, and charter schools fall under the umbrella of school choice. And so depending on what the charter schools program and model is, ours being a business-focused career academy, it is an element of choice.
So if you look at the charter landscape, particularly in Washington, D.C., but also in Prince George's, charter schools have not met, many of them, their special education numbers. So in terms of how many special education students they need to enroll, and whether they are served, and so they get, knocked for that. Are you concerned about that?
We're not concerned about that because we recognize, again, the basis and the premise for our model is to meet students where they are and to provide them the support that they need holistically so that they can thrive. And no matter where students come in, we are prepared to support, whether they are an accelerated program or they have an IEP 504.
From our perspective, there's no demand on a charter school operator to enroll a particular subset of any demographic. It is up to the charter operator to identify, based on their program and their model, what the demographic program and profile may look like based on where they intend to locate. So if we're talking about the District of Columbia, if you're talking about potentially being in, let's just say, Ward 5, for example, you need to be fully aware of what the demographic is for Ward 5, as typically, the proximity is what charter school operators use to plan for their student enrollment. They can only plan based on what the demographic profile looks like.
Let's end with some biographical information about you. Lashandra, you want to go first?
So my name is LaShondra Graham. I am the president and CEO of MBEF College and Career Academies. We also refer to that as MECA. We are the creators of the MECA Business Learning Institute, which we refer to as MBLI. And I am here doing this work because I've been in and around education in various components, from a professional capacity to a personal capacity, for over 20 years. I've been working with our nonprofit group, the Mentoring by Example Foundation, doing outside of school tutoring and support. And so, and then professionally, I also worked for a number of years with Prince George's County Public Schools. So I got to PG in 2011, 2012. And I was there around 5 years, and I worked in budget and finance. And I was responsible for the academic component of the school district's budget, which included the charter, contract, turnaround schools. We used to be turnaround schools at that time, turnaround schools. So all the specialty academic schools was in my sort of purview from a budget perspective.
All right, Tracy, you want to go?
Yes, my name is Tracy Cooper, and I am the Vice President and Chief Academic Officer of MECA. And I have a background in education for over 20 plus years. My background is in science, psychology, sociology. So I come with a plethora of knowledge on holistic development and children and learning. My background has been in a number of school districts, including Prince George's County, Baltimore City, as well as some foray in Pennsylvania.
LaShondra Graham, Tracy Cooper, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's LaShondra Graham and Tracy Cooper, founders of the MECA Business Learning Institute, Montgomery County, Maryland's second officially approved public charter school to be located at Goldenrod Road in Germantown. If you want to know more about MECA Business Learning Institute, I've added the link to the show notes. Music for this episode comes from CatScan, an art pop rock band from Washington, D.C., Paul Chaparis on bass and vocals, Kevin Kingsley on guitars and saxophone, and Mason Shelby on synths and percussion. Their latest album reflecting the time and this cultural moment is called Everything is Normal. To feel better, go see them live. You can find out where they are playing on their Facebook and Instagram pages. If you have difficulty finding them, we share their events on I Hate Politics socials. If you want to share your music on the show or know someone else who might want to, please email us at producer@ihppod.org. I hope you'll subscribe and share the podcast as we bring you stories about politics close to you and to your home. See you next time.